really happy to be able to see everybody again. I'll get to when I was here. But first, Firma, would you pray me in, please? Amen. You guys GI this room really well. I'm not gonna find any dust in here, am I? Furman knows that I was the ST that nobody really liked because I would find everything. But yep. And I just so I'll get to what led me up to coming here. I'll give you guys a long version. I like so first I brought the King James version. I didn't mean to bring that one because I don't necessarily like reading out of that one. But you guys don't have to open your Bibles, but I would like to read out of John 10:10. The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. I have come that they may have life and have it to the full. And the enemy that he really did steal a lot from me in life. But through having God in my life and a personal relationship with Jesus, my life has changed. And I have a life now that's more abundant than I thought I'd ever have. And so I noticed even to go really, really far back, like sixth grade is when I started acting out differently. We had like a school store thing, and I was a smart kid to be like, oh, I left something in the classroom, and go back and steal a bunch of stuff and shove it in my book bag and then sell it on the bus. So I was just defiant from the start, but wasn't really ever into drugs until like I would smoke weed and stuff. Not that I'm justifying that as making anything any better, but nothing hard till later. And what I needed to figure out was just what I was sensitive to, what made me want to go towards those things. And what I figured out the hard way was for me was relationships, and I figured that out with my first relationship. And didn't really notice till a while later. I was hanging out with some friends, and I always had the car pretty much. They didn't, so they need to ride somewhere. I'd be like, sure, I'll go give you a ride. But after you go down certain neighborhoods and whatnot, you're going to start asking like, I just want to know what's going to be in the car. And that's when I got first introduced to heroin. And that's I snorted the first time, and it just I don't know, it took over my life in some senses. And it gave me the peace and the quietness and to just make all the noise stop, if that makes any sense, if anybody can ever relate to any of that. And I took that and I ran with that for a while. And that was my first time with the addiction with that. And I was on probation because before then, back in like 2010, 11 or something like that, Shore Homes in Ocean City, I probably broke into like a couple hundred of them just because people didn't use their deadbolts. I'd take their TVs, I'd stuff them in the car, I'd go sell them later. I'd be like, hey, what size TV you looking for? 50, 75, 25, 30, one for your bathroom, one for your kitchen. And I'd take orders. And it was like, I don't even want to like make a turn without a turn signal these days because I'll start having heart palpitations. But I would break into people's houses to do that stuff. So I ended up on probation for that. Got involved in doing that's when I started hanging out with his friends because didn't really have anything else to do. And I got wrapped up in addiction really quick. And they never told me about that till a couple days later. And I'm like, why does my hair hurt? And they're like, oh yeah, that's because you're sick. And I'm like, yeah, I'm what? And that's when I figured out you develop the physical dependency to it. And it took a lot to go to my PO because I realized where I messed up. And my PO was John Judy, and he was really nice to me. I had him in Atlantic County because he talked to me like I was a person, not like I was just another client to him. Like I was one of his kids or something. And he shared stuff with me about his life that maybe he shouldn't have, but made me be able to connect with him a little bit better. So made me more comfortable with him. And I told him one time, I said, dude, I messed up. And told him about everything. He said, are you doing it this way? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, oh, come on, man. People don't let me do that for years. So he ended up violating me. I did. I went to jail for 6 months for that, and then got the violation probation. I went to John Brooks after that, Atlantic City. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of them or not. And then so I went to John Brooks I went to jail for 6 months. Went to John Brooks for 6 months, and then I went to a halfway house after that. And but like no time in there at all did I give myself time to heal or work on myself in any matter. And so my first weekend home on for the halfway house, I'm back out buying drugs again. And but this time, smart. I brought home a radio with me that I stuffed everything in the back, but I left it all in the same bag. So when they checked me in, they were like, "What's a screwdriver for?" I'm like, "Oh, I don't know. I left it in there." And I'm back to getting high a little bit later. And it just I did that once in the halfway house. Somebody made a comment, maybe too nervous to ever do it again. Maybe that was the good part, but I didn't touch the stuff for a while longer. And what happened after that? Because I'm trying to keep track of everything. Because it's when you go and leave here, you don't always go and talk about your testimony or stuff that's happened in your life or how God has worked in your life, because there's not a lot of people. Sometimes a lot of people just don't want to hear it, and that's the hard part. You still have to be willing to go and show them. And the best way I found out is to show them how you live your life. But where'd I leave off at with probation? So I came home from the halfway house. Did well. I've always worked a lot, and I'm gonna lose track on this because no, the halfway house. Did I come home on drug court? When were we on drug court? 2010. Yeah. So I came. Yes, he violated my probation. I went to rehab, came home on drug court, and I don't know if anybody's experienced drug court or not, but it did change my life. There's a lot of things that have happened in my life that you guys will realize. There's a lot of bad things, a lot of frustrating things that will happen in your life that may not make sense now, but will make sense, sometimes 3, 5, 10, 15 years later down the road. Through going through drug court, I worked on myself. I guess I enjoyed going to the meetings. They never really did anything for me. I kind of just sat there and just got my paper signed after I figured out which ones I could go to, just get the paper signed, sit in the car, or even better, get the paper signed, just go home. I didn't really enjoy going to the meetings because I didn't really want to go and refer to myself as an addict all the time and go back and talk about it all the time. Like, I didn't want to talk about the drugs that I did all the time. Like, I didn't think we needed to revisit it all the time. Like, I just wanted to be done and over with it. But the beneficial parts that came out of that is I never would have met my brother back there if it wasn't for drug court. So sometimes things come into play, and so did well in drug court for a while. There was on that first weekend pass home, I missed that part. The guy that I was getting the things from, the girl that I would later date, was getting a really bad tattoo by the guy that I was getting my things from. She was giving me a ride home later, and got her phone number. Ended up things really progressed with her for a long time. I was with her for about 4.5 years, and got engaged to her and everything. It was not a healthy relationship whatsoever at all. A lot of cheating happened, not on my end. To say in the beginning, I wasn't innocent either towards the end. I'll always admit my faults, but I was on drug court with that. So, and I had my brother back there too. And so I didn't go jump to drugs when stuff happened because I couldn't. I had something weighing over my head so much that, if I violated drug court, you're going to get your whole sentence with an 85%, I'm pretty sure is what they gave you. And like, I'm not doing that. I got tired of going to jail. I didn't want to go back to jail again. But I noticed that, like, what was it? Right towards the end, and it was crazy how it all worked out because right towards the end of me finishing up drug court, I got involved with somebody else, I'll just say, and wasn't with that one girl to begin with anymore. She moved out. The other girl moved in, and I don't mean to refer to that way either. And that was like. When that person came in my life, I thought she was like God's gift to me. Does anybody know what the word narcissist means? Yeah, so it's just great, isn't it? It's not, but that yeah, it was rough, and I went from a nice like 165, 170 or something. I'm like 155 now. To you guys have the do you want to put that picture up on the thing? So in like, I think it was like 2 months. I think I dropped all that weight. I dropped that weight fast, and that smoked out like 90 pounds. I went back to doing heroin, and then caught the addiction again. And then I found out from the same person that I was involved with stuff with. He was like, "Hey, if you do some of this, you don't have the withdrawal anymore." And then I got addicted to meth, and clearly you can see that I really tended to like that. So that I ran with that relationship for a while, for a couple months, and it was rough because I thought I made a good choice with what I did till I realized the choice that I made was worse than the choice I made before. But so what happened with that? We ended up her and I ended up moving to a different apartment, which I let her pick out the apartment, which is kind of funny because I didn't know later that she picked the apartment that was like not even a quarter mile away from where my ex-girlfriend's dad lived, where she lived. So it was just right back into stupidity and mess of stuff again, and just not a nice life. And what happened with that? There was lots of arguments with her and I. There was a point in time when and this is where like some movie stuff kind of happens in life that she suggested that we go to a psychologist, psychiatrist, I forget which one's which, that was in Northfield. And Diane Sylvia, because I can mention that name, but I won't mention any of the other names. She was our psychiatrist person, and I'll never forget this. But I went to that person, didn't take any of their advice because like I'm the type of person where I'm not going to take advice from you if you're not living the same exact thing. So but it was a good thing I did take advice from her because that relationship ended. What happened? I got really, 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 really bad on meth, clearly, because you can see in that picture. And I ruined relationships with my parents. I ended up moving back with my parents, and I pretty much ruined any relationship that I had around me. And it was hard because like you slowly start to push away everybody, and until you're left with nobody, and until you're just left with yourself and the drugs, and nobody wants to deal with it anymore. Nobody wants to trust you. And there was a guy that I got hooked up with to do work. He was doing Ford foundations for houses. I was working with him. He had me set up in, because at this time I lost the apartment and everything else. He had me set up and living because I was living in the woods for a little bit. I had, and then I got real luxury. I had an 18-wheeler refrigeration truck that I could live in the back of. I had a couch. It was nice because I was out of the element. And you guys can laugh at sometimes. It's not that, I'm not going to like strike you down to the ground. You guys can laugh. It's okay. Even if I don't make something funny, you still can laugh. But like there was like I'm gonna bounce back and forth because my ADHD will carry me to different areas. So you guys just do your best to trying to keep up. So because I'll forget other things. Some of this stuff that really scarred me with some of these relationships were like I'll have a stutter that doesn't. I'm surprised it really hasn't come out that bad since I'm standing in front of all of you guys. But I'll never forget the day that girl had me in the corner. She smacked me in the face and said, "Well, what are you gonna do about it?" And stuff like mental abuse and stuff like that sticks with you for a long time. And it took me a while to heal and get over that. But I'll get through that later with how Jesus helped me, lead a better life where I'm at now. And I'm jumping all over the place. I had stuff planned out so much better in my head for the last like 2 days of what I was trying to say here. I hate when this happens, but you guys go through it too. So where'd that go? I was working, that relationship ended up ending. Both of those girls that I was with ended up sending me to jail. So we all broke up. I wasn't with any, I broke up with this is going to sound really bad. I was with the first person, broke up with that person, went with the second person. We were living together, left her, went back to the first person. At this time, that first person, because I'm not going to mention any names in this, was like 8 months pregnant with somebody else's kid. And so I went back to go stay with her. And but there's good parts to all this because like this is where even hectic things, bad things in your life go to open up other avenues. Like through that relationship with that first person, through meeting my brother on drug court, through that relationship with that first person, she was saying, "Oh, my friend, this is not going to come over," and now that's my friend's wife now. So like it's crazy how things go and work out because I'm not mad I went through anything in my life because like it got him what he has in his life, and I have the life I have now. So things plan out the way they do for a reason. But I went back to the first person, which is now 8 months pregnant with somebody else's kid. Stayed with her for a couple more months. Mind you, I was still doing drugs, still doing the same stuff. Going into Walmart, stealing pretty much anything. Just taking pre-orders, just going and selling stuff. Legally, I'm not allowed in Walmart anymore, but I still go anyway because I did first time on store run here, and I'm like, we're gonna find out what's gonna happen. And God went and protected me, and ever since then, we've been okay. I don't think this Walmart specifically I've gotten kicked out of, but they pretty much tell you not to go back to any of them. But I still go. So I just trust that God protects me. But so I was still getting high with her, and not with her, but while she was pregnant. And there was, she had contractions one night, drove her to the hospital. I had to drive back home because I left my drugs at home. And I mean, I don't care about the hospital. I want my drugs. And so I drove back home, missed the baby being born. I was kind of sad about that. But the nice part was that I figured out later that like the whole time, like, I was just scared of kids. Like I didn't know anything about kids. And that was, that's where like my heart changed, even though I was getting high. Like I noticed this years later that my heart changed that day when I held that boy in my arms and had his finger wrapped, like his hand wrapped around my finger. Something changed my heart that day and let me know that, like, I do like kids, because before I was just like, I'm never gonna have kids. And so there's bad things in your life, like I said, that will open up other good things. You just, sometimes need to look for them. And so she had her baby, postmenopausal, I forget what's one after they have the kid. There we go. Thank you. And I appreciate that. So that came into play. I'm doing drugs. That's not a really good combination either. She found out I was texting the second person. And mind you, I'm not a bad person. I'm not a violent person. I used to be. Not really anymore. I've done a lot of work with that. Not really a violent person either. But we're all taught not to hit women, correct? We shouldn't really hit anybody. It's never right to hit anybody. I was 90 pounds in that picture. I'm not justifying it in any way. She probably had another 140 pounds on me. So when she came to attack me the one time and I pushed her back and I told her, if you come at me again, I'm going to hit you, I did. And it was not right of me. Kind of had to defend myself. That's what I'm always going to take it as. Man back there knows the whole story with everything. So not that I feel like anything was right. But this is where it gets really crazy. She ran back to the car to go call her dad. Her dad, of course, calls the cops. Her dad's friend, we were on his property at the time. He told me, I know what happened. You're good. Just run up here and run down that way because the cops are coming. I'm like, okay. And, you're on drugs. Somebody says run. You're going to run. And so I ran. And who did I go and call? I called the second ex-girlfriend to go and pick me up. So she picks me up. I had to go down to the police station in Egg Harbor Township area, which is where she works too, by the way. She was a dispatcher when I first met her, and then she was a dispatcher for Egg Harbor Township. I'll get to that part later. It gets more interesting. So she dropped me off at Egg Harbor Township. I gave, everything they had. They were like, you're going to jail. And I'm like, that's great. So I went to the Atlantic County Jail, and I missed a couple more times of going to jail in between there. I've been to jail like 6 times or so. The violation of probation was 6 months. Oh, I'll get to the other one later. I don't want to give you that one yet. Where did I just leave off at? I'm sorry. Thank you. I went to jail for that. I went, I think that was like 6 days or something like that. Of course, when I go get released, I called the second ex-girlfriend, and she actually picked me up. That was the crazy part. Sat in the parking lot till like 2 o'clock in the morning. I'll never understand, like, while people will go in your life, smack you in the corner to make fun of your stuttering, torture you, but then, like, it's just the whole narcissist thing, like this, the feed for, whether it's good or bad attention. It's just, they just love it. And so she picked me up 2 o'clock in the morning, drove me to, I asked her, can you drive me to Wawa so I get some food, bought me some food and everything. I was very happy about that because everybody knows the food in jail is really not that great. And especially when you look like that. But I went home, and then when I got home, I walked in the door and I realized everything that I had at I'll just say the first person's house, was then moved into my room. And I was home, like, I had like $150 left because I got paid the day before. And it was kind of funny because, like, I took some of the stuff that I had and hid it on the telephone pole later. And I'll go back to get that. I'll tell you how I ended up there. And so she drove me home. I got home, I saw all this stuff out, and it was just kind of just like, you see it all, and you're like, I don't even want to be here. And I just want to leave. So I called the drug dealer I had at the time. And I'm like, what are you doing? It's, like, I probably wasn't 2 o'clock in the morning. It was probably like 11 when she picked me up, probably like 12:30 or 1 when I got home, to be fair. And he said, I'm taking a taxi to go, smoke crack in Atlantic City. I said, okay, can I come with you? And I convinced him to come and pick me up back out in Corbett City. He was in like Taco area or something. He picked me up. Right back in Atlantic City on some little porch, something like 30 feet up in an apartment building or whatever. I don't even know really how I got there. And I have his phone, and people were interlocked with other people this time. She had my drug dealer's phone number. Don't ask how. I guess I had to call him one time. And she goes and calls. This is the first girl that I want to say it this way, that I punched in the face 6 days before, or a few days before. And so I answer the phone, and I'm like, she's like, is this Chris? And I'm like, hypothetically speaking, maybe, because there was a temporary restraining order at that time. And I'm like, really, I knew how to speak with those to not incriminate myself, I guess to say. Needless to say, she ended up picking me up later that day. So this is just a whole, I'm so glad life's not like this anymore. I like things simple, very, very simple now. I don't like things complicated. So she picked me back up. I ended up hanging out with her for a little bit, ended up driving back home. What happened? Where we go next with this? I ended up stopped talking to both of them after a while. And then there was, because meth, no drugs make you a nice person, especially meth. I really feel like that makes you a horrible person. My mom put a restraining order against me because one day when I was at the house, I went and flipped out, and I didn't push her through the door to say, again, I'm not trying to justify any of my actions. I was a bad person at the time. I'm a completely different person than I am today. Pushed her through the screen door. She fell back. She did get a mark on her arm or whatnot. It was wrong with me what to do. And I remember screaming for my dad. She said, honey, I need help. And who's been pepper sprayed? Anybody been pepper sprayed before? Only a few of us? Oh man, you guys are missing out. No, it's really not fun. But I turned around, my stepdad was there and he pepper sprayed me. And I'm not mad at him for it. I was mad at the time. It hurt. I took off running down the road and knocked on, and like, you guys, if you don't know, nobody knows what Corbin City looks like, but it's not really like a whole bunch of houses next to each other. Kind of like house, you gotta run. House, you gotta run. So like there's distance, and that pepper spray cart starts kicking in the more you start sweating, I feel like. And I got to one neighbor eventually. It's bad. Listen, it gets bad. I'm serious. I'm not mad at you whatsoever at all. If you know from it happening, and the neighbor, like, they brought out like a bowl of Dawn dish soap, read on Google that would help and stuff, and I was running the hose in my face, had somebody else pick me up, went back to his house eventually. I ended up ripping and running like this for a while. Like, I don't know how I can maintain like making, I don't even know how I made money. Like, I don't even know where it came from. I guess I just stole everything. And but I still had money to get high every day pretty much until eventually, I was working with that guy doing poured foundations for the houses. Did that for a little bit because I was trying to find whatever I could make the most amount of money in the shortest time possible. And the guy was really nice. I've had plenty of conversations with him since I've turned my life around, and he's very happy to see me doing well. But so there was a restraining order with my mother. My stepfather got put on that just because they live in the same house, I guess. He said he didn't want to be on it, but he's on it. So I was with the Poured Foundations guy, and life wasn't getting any better. It was just getting worse. And frankly, I just wanted to die. Like, I didn't want to, like, I just didn't want to be there anymore. Like, I hate what happened in life, how everything fell apart. I felt like I worked so hard through all those drug court years to accrue and make the life that I had, which at the time I really, really cherished. I really liked the things that I had. I had a Fox Body Mustang that I bought a Vortec V2 S trim supercharger for it. Like, I'm a mechanic, I build cars. And so I wanted to make that my drag car. I was all happy I had all that stuff, and I was so mad that I lost all of it. But don't worry, I have way entirely different stuff today. And so that Poured Foundation guy would drive me. He was nice enough to go drive me to my drug dealer. He knew what I was doing, but I was just worker. And the one night, it was, I forget what exactly it was. I'm pretty sure it was cold out then. But anyway, no, I think it was August actually, or beginning of September. But I remember he drove me to the dude's place, and this was the drug dealer I had at the time was also my first ex-girlfriend's dad's neighbor. So it was just a whole mess of things, how everything got mixed in. It's like a Jerry Springer episode. But so I remember him counting things out in his hand and me having like $200, like 4 times the amount of what that's worth. And I'm like, dude, just give it to me. Like, I'll give you $200 for it. He's like, nah, man, I can't. These are for me. And I'm like, all I wanted to do was die. I knew what he had in his hand was enough that would just take me off of this earth, and I would just be able to be dead. I wouldn't hurt anymore. I wouldn't feel anything anymore. I'd be dead. I'd be fine with that. That's what I wanted at the time. I didn't want to keep going. I didn't want to keep doing anything. And but it's funny how God works, because like he was like, no, I can't. And I'm like, but I have money. So I left there empty-handed. Screaming at the dude, driving me back home all the way from Egg Harbor Township, all the way pretty much to Corbin City. Didn't really know where I was going to go. I had nowhere to go. And he dropped me off at the corner of Head of the River Road and at the drive pretty much. No, it was Head of the River Road and like where the cemetery is on 49. I don't know if anybody knows where that is. So I walked all the way from there. You know where the turf farms is, way open out there. I walked all the way through there. After yelling at him, he dropped me off, and I'll never forget. A state cop goes and drives by, and he does this drive-by, and then like, you're in turf farm. So I ran and I hid somewhere. So I heard him turn around and shoot back by again, and I I stayed away from him because it's, it's late at night at that time. I shouldn't be walking on the road alone. And I'm suspicious looking, and especially looking like that. But so I ended up walking to my parents' house in Corbin City, which was a pretty decent amount of a walk. And my first car was there, and I've been up for like 3 or 4 days at this point in time. Like I just wanted to sleep, and I got in the back of the car and I slept. And I remember I had like the one door was taped off because I had it off at some point in time for something. I don't know. I was doing drugs at the time. Like I had no idea what I was doing. But I fell asleep in the car, and I woke up the next day to the dog barking, and my stepdad opened the door, and he's like, "What are we gonna do?" I'm like, "I just want to sleep," and I slammed the door. And then he opened up. I don't know how much time went by. Could have been 10 minutes, could have been an hour, but they were both there. They're like, "What are we gonna do?" I'm like, "I just want to sleep," and I slammed the door again. And then they got me out again, and I came inside, went to go talk to him, and I firmly believe that when you're doing drugs, that you do have like an evil spirit to say. And I do feel like when people go to read scripture on you, like it will go and aggravate you, because I noticed that happened to me. And it's like it just makes something that's living inside you just does not like those life-breathing scriptures that are being read to you. And I remember I put on another long sleeve shirt and ended up tearing that back off, but I went back to the car to go sleep. And because again, I'd just been up for a few days, I could probably sleep for like a day and a half at that point in time. With no problem. And the next time that I got a knock on the door, it's Mr. Detloff, it's New Jersey State Police. And I was like, okay, we'll go. I'm good. And I went. And I got in the back of the car. There were 2 cop cars there. They didn't have to pepper spray me. I went perfectly fine. And got in the back of that car, and I just slept all the way to Woodbine, I guess is where we went. No, it was, see, Corbin City is weird because you can go to Woodbine or you can go to Buna. I forget which one we went to. But got out of the car. Now, we're there. I go in the cell. I'm like, can I sleep? He let me sleep. I knew I was going to jail. I didn't really care. At that point in time, when you're homeless and you're doing a bunch of drugs, kind of jail kind of sounds nice in some ways. So I eventually get transferred to jail. Now I have a violation of restraining order charge, which is I find out later is a violent crime, from what I understand. So if I'm wrong, anybody let me know about that, because I would love for it not to be a violent crime. But so within the first couple days of me being in jail and knowing that I had I forgot at the time that that's a felony too, calling my parents saying, hey, if you don't drop these charges, the state's going to pick them up. And they're like, we don't think that's going to happen. And I'm like, you serious? You guys, you're serious? So I called them a few times, and they were like, no, we just don't think that's going to happen. Well, guess what happened? It's something that I still have to work on today with myself, because sometimes it hasn't held me back from anything. But I left Atlantic County with a felony conviction for a violation of restraining order with my mother. And my dad amended the restraining order later to have him off of it and whatnot. But that's something, I still have to work on today, because I don't it took me a lot to forgive my mom for that. And it really, really did, because like I did my own work with getting my own first felony conviction with and there's only going to be 2. Like, I'm not adding more. With breaking into houses in Ocean City. And but when I got that other one, it was frustrating, and it was hard. So I did 6 months. It was probably like 4.5 months, or maybe 6 months, around there. I got out. There was a guy that I met that was in there. That was like, hey man, I got to go do, finish up my warrants or whatever at another place. And, but afterwards, here's my number. We'll go meet out. I do tree work. I'll keep you working. And I'm like, okay, sounds good. And, I really did meet up with him when I got out. I called him. He's like, I'll be there in a little bit to come pick you up. Picks me up at his Dodge, months without smoking a cigarette. Why not go and smoke a cigarette? Because, why not just quit? I went back to smoking cigarettes, and we're driving in his truck, and he's like, I think somebody's following us. I'm like, oh great, he's high. And, so exactly. And so we get back to and I passed by this house so many times, and I'm just like, I don't know. I'm just so happy I don't live in the back of there anymore. And we end up in the back of his drug dealer's house in a trailer, and I'm doing lines of meth again, and like a couple hours out of being out of jail. And but like it just got to the point where like I did one, and I was like, I don't really want to do this anymore. Like I don't want to do this. And he's like, oh man, I wish I could just pick it up, put it down like you. And I'm like, you're like 70 and you should. But I hope he's doing well. I really do. But I ended up getting a hold of my stepdad, telling him that I wasn't in a good spot and I needed help with trying to get things back in order. And he did help a lot. He did. He helped me with getting set up in a motels are the one you pull your car up to the door, right? I think it is. But he got me set up with a motel in Marmora, and there was a there was a guy that owned Earth Tech. He's a Christian as well, and I got a job for Earth Tech, and well, in dumpsters, like 40-yard, 30-yard, whatever size dumpsters, putting floors in them and stuff, and I lived in the motel. So, I'm fresh out of jail. I go down to Dollar General. I still buy the same ramen noodles, can of chili or whatever, because like I'm not really making much per week, and I got to be able to eat. Did all my laundry in the bathtub, hung it up to dry because that's what we were just used to doing for months before. And I did that for a little while, and I did okay. I did save up money. I mean, it sucks because you come back Friday after you get paid and your room's locked because you got to go take that cash you just got paid that day. Give them some cash so you can unlock your room so you can go in there so you can sleep for the rest of the night. And eventually saved up enough, and maybe that wasn't really best wording, saving up enough, but guy for Earth Tech also had he had some properties, so he had an old motel that was converted into apartments. So they were really skinny and really long. Like, I mean, like they were like from like here to the wall kind of skinny. So when I told my friend, we got to move the bed in there and go from there. And he's like, I don't know what you mean. So when we got there, he's like, I see what you mean. It was small. And I was on probation at the time. And the rent was cheap though. And I don't think I was getting high at this time yet. But no, I was, because I was avoiding my probation officer the entire time, and I was going, like, they had me going to IOP classes, and no, there's some point in time I skipped in there. I forget where it was exactly. I went back to getting high, like full fledged, but went back to getting high, and no, I remember where that happened. All right, I'll get to that part. So I lived at that. No, I went and I didn't live at the motel yet. I went from the motel to my friend Bill's house, and then lived there for a little. Man, I'm missing. I forget where. I was living at Bill's house for a little bit. That's what happened. After the motel, I went from the motel to Bill's house, and then and was working doing the I feel like I'm still missing a part here. Yeah, so I was working. No, there was anyway, I was living at Bill's, and things went okay with that for a little bit. I wasn't getting high at all. Started hanging out with the neighbor, which he passed away actually from an overdose, and so I started hanging out with him. Went back into getting high really easily because he's right across the street, and hanging out with his cousin, getting high, and back to doing meth and heroin again really easily. And there was what happened? There was one Sunday, the neighbor would always ask us to go to church with him, and like, would you come to church with us and our family? And the neighbor's really, really nice. He's a really awesome person, and I love his family, and both of his neighbors are actually really nice. But we worked a lot, working 9 o'clock in the morning till like 9 o'clock at night. So we understood we were busy, but we would make some time eventually. And we made time one Sunday. I think it was for Easter Sunday, and we were all lined up, and they did an altar call at the end, and like I wanted to go up, but like I didn't want to go up because I was nervous. But I'll never forget that Emma, which was their daughter, came up and tugged on me and was like, "Would you go up with me?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'll go up with you." And because I can't say no to a little kid, and I went up. I accepted Christ in my life, and like I admit, nothing felt any different at that point in time. But later, I don't know when exactly later. Brought drugs back into Bill's house. I should have never done that. That was disrespectful, but we're past that now. And it was right before I went to go get in the shower, so I was butt naked, and I overdosed on his bathroom floor. And Bill and I know each other very well. He knows me way better than I know him. But he found me butt naked, and that was kind of embarrassing. So they had to call an ambulance, and it's funny because the girl we went to school with, which is the girl that he used to have the crush on for the longest time, was the ambulance driver. And she's like, "I'm going to ride up front so it doesn't make it awkward." And I remember they had to Narcan me, and I remember the state police being there. Like they were trying to find the drugs in the house, and I knew exactly where they were. I just didn't want to move a pair of pants because I didn't want them to see them. And the EMTs were trying to get the cops to stay out of there. But I got dressed, full-fledged, just finished an overdose, and I got dressed perfectly fine. That was like the first overdose I ever had. But mind you, I accepted Christ in my life, a little bit before then, and I started with overdoses. So I'll get to that part later. So we ended up going to the hospital. This is before I started working at the one dealership that we used to work at together. And things were a little rough for a little bit because his girlfriend didn't really want me staying there, which I completely understand. I just died in the house. I wouldn't really want me being there either. So that is when I got the apartment that was converted. There was the motel that was converted to the apartments. So I wasn't working for the guy that did the dumpster, but I was renting from the guy. And so I was working at a dealership out in Woodbine, working on cars at that time. And I was living at that other place. And eventually, drug use just kept getting more and more and more and more. And it kept getting worse. And I was on probation at the time. I even took an old car head unit, wired it up with a rear view camera so I could hide it behind the shade so I could see when my PO was coming. She never validated my apartment whatsoever at all. I was always ready to jump out the back window whenever she came. I just never wanted her to stop by because I felt like she was going to take me to jail or something. But they had me on IOP. They had me on probation. Even IOP to some point in time was like, listen, we tested your urine and your meth concentrations are so high that we're really concerned. And I was so high that I could all I could do was stutter. And it was bad. So eventually they're like, probation's like, we want you to go to a program. And I'm like, okay, like how long of a program? Because right away when probation's like, what, we go to a program, we want to pick the shortest program possible. Like, can we pick a 3-day, 2-day, a 1-day? Can we do an overnight, 15-minute? Can I go take a nap or something? Pick the shortest one possible. And they eventually wanted me to go to a program, and I'm like, okay. And I had to go to work, and I had to try to dope fiend work with being like, hey, I need this time off. I didn't know at the time that the boss's one sister's boyfriend, something or whatever, worked at a program. So they kind of knew how things worked a little bit. And he was like, all right, off the record, what's going on? I said, all right, I messed up and I started getting high again, this and that. He's like, and that's why you don't have a job here anymore. I'm like, you bastard. So that's what he did. And I don't have a job there anymore at the time. And so now I'm just living at the apartment. Still getting high because we still find a way to go and make money. And hanging out with, I still had the car at that time. I think I was hanging out with Josh, and I forget what Josh's girlfriend's name was. But still just running around, ripping and running, not stopping whatsoever at all. And but like after accepting Christ in my life, I had that one overdose hanging out with Josh. They used to bring Narcan with me because I had about 3 more overdoses after that. And so there's a pattern to things nudging my life into a different direction. And what happened? The very last overdose that happened was there was a teacher that I had. I didn't have him as a teacher at the high school in Ocean City. He taught drama and some special education classes. But before I went there, my mom always said I'd really, really get along with him well. And I did. And he taught me a lot of stuff over the years, like psychology-based thing, pupil dilation, nostril flaring, people's tics that they do when they lie, how to get around verbal barriers that people form in relationships to try to better my life and whatnot, and better the relationships that I've had. So I developed a good relationship with this guy, and I always helped him work on his cars. And one day, and I still help him to this day. And one day he was going to pick me up to go to work on his car in Rio Grande. I'm getting picked up in Seville. I'm like, hey, can we go to Mora because my friend, I need to pick something up from there. And they already had it all ready for me, and so we're in the car ride down the parkway, and I'm like, I have to do this in the back seat. I'm like, no, they're going to see me. I'll just wait till we get to Dunkin' Donuts. And they're like, oh, you want anything from Dunkin' Donuts? And I'm like, yeah, I just got to go use the bathroom. Went in, used the bathroom, and walked out from the Dunkin' Donuts, walked in the car, and that's all I pretty much remembered. And then I woke up on the hospital table with my shirt cut off, a little thingy stuck. It's really weird when you're vertical and then you're horizontal when you wake up. It's weird. It's weird when that happens. It's not fun. I did not suggest it. But I woke up and I saw all the things stuck to me. Shirt was cut off me. That's the first time that ever happened. And I just started crying. And I remember looking over and seeing him and his wife. And they came over, and I thought they were going to yell at me, but they didn't. They just prayed and stayed there and cried with me. And they're Christians as well. So that was the last time I ever got high because he told me the story later. I mean, like later that day, like I'm out of the hospital like 20 minutes later after them Narcan me. I'm eating donuts, drinking coffee, and I'm like, "Are we gonna go work on the car?" And he's like, "Are you serious?" I'm like, "Yeah, let's go work on the car. We'll be fine. Like I died. I'm alive now. We're fine." And it freaked them out because he told me later that I was blue all the way down to my chest. Like he pulled my shirt down, and his wife's a nurse, and his wife was the one who was driving, and he told me later, he said, when I turned around and I handed you your coffee and you dropped it and you turned blue, you know, he said, I held your hand, you do little gasps of breath, like you're aspirating or something. But he said, he told his wife, I don't care what you have to do, you drive to the hospital, you get there as fast as you can. And they did. I mean, I full-fledged can pull apart motors and put pistons, rings, whatever, put them all back together. I should be a vegetable, I feel like. I should not have, I mean, I wish I had more brain capacity, but I should not have the capacity of the brain that I have now with all the stuff that I've done. Like turning blue, like I shouldn't have good brain function. And I do, thanks to God. Like there's a lot of things I have in my life thanks to God now. And so that was the last time that happened. I started calling places after that. There was here's the other part that happened. Evidently after you get an overdose at a hospital, you get a care manager, which will give you all these little plans, places you can go and everything, and a little gift bag of Narcan. Like I'm gonna use it on me because I'll be out at the time. But you know, they give you this little gift bag of stuff, a little plan of where you can go. And Mission Teens was not on that list. It's like the best kept secret. But there was a bunch of places on that list, and Mission Teens was mentioned, and at some point in time, because it was heard from somebody else, from somebody else, from somebody else at a church, and that seems to be how it gets passed down a lot, is through a lot of church people, because it's a church. And so I ended up calling a bunch of places, trying to get in, and last place I landed on was Turning Point. No, I missed that part. I called Mission Teens for a while and would call and check in. I did the application over the phone because I was, more and more, you guys are all the way out here. And I would call and check in, call and check in, call and check in. But then you know how like they're like, you need to get your blood work done and this and that. And you're like, but like stuff starts getting closer to the end of the end of you having to go to a program or something. And then you're like, well, I can get high once more. Well, I drugged my feet and I lost my bet. And I ended up going to Turning Point up in Patterson. Anybody ever been to Patterson? Beautiful up there, isn't it? No. First time up in Patterson. Do not suggest going back again. Stayed there for about 2 weeks. I still, I would post up my counselor's door, even if he wasn't there. I remember vividly the one day they're like, "You got to go to class." I said, "No, I do not. I need to call Mission Teens. I do not want to be here." And I kept calling in and calling in and calling in, and they were like, "Sorry, their beds are going to be full for a couple months for at least a decent amount of time." And I didn't want to stay at Turning Point anymore. I didn't want to. They have me on medications for like non-narcotic for ADHD, something for this, something for that. Like my feet sweat. Like I couldn't. Like it was just uncomfortable. Like I didn't want to have all those medications. But then I thought maybe that's what may help me this time. I'm not quite sure. And so I ended up leaving there. Called my dad. 2.5 hours, I think it was, or 2 hours to ride up to Patterson. We're on the car ride back. He told me my sister got in a car accident that morning, and I was like, I hope she's okay. And we're trying to figure out a place for me to go. I actually called you that day because I had no idea where to go. You're like, you and Bill, the only two numbers that I have, and I'm like, I don't know what to do. And I had nowhere to go, and I didn't know where I was gonna go. And then my dad's phone rang, and it was Mission Teens, and he was like, Mission Teens is calling me, and he was like, hello, and they're like, hey, do you know where Chris is? And he was like, I'm right next to him, and he's like, yeah, he's right next to me. And they put me on the phone, and they were like, hey, where are you? And I forget, who was it that called? Was it you that called? I don't remember. It could have been. Yeah. He called to check in. Well, needless to say, perfect timing. Our route got to change to go to Mission Teens, and I remember getting here, and the typical thing, like get like maybe a trash bag worth of stuff. People, I mean, my dad's been driving at that time for probably like 5 or 6 hours during the day. He's had a heck of a day. They kind of kick you out of the car and go. And I stayed here for like 4.5 years, only because like my life changed, and through the residential part of the program, I had to get used to getting told no. Like I was so mad when I filled out request slip after request slip after request slip of to go to video chat thing for my grandparents' 60th wedding anniversary or something. And then they're like, oh, put it in like a month advance. They're like, put it in 2 weeks ahead. I put it in 2 weeks ahead. They're like, put it in the week of. I put it in the week of. They're like, denied. No, I was so mad. But it all went and worked out later. I stayed through the 8 to 10 month program. I got offered an AC commitment. I went and stayed for that. Got offered FC. I stayed for the FC. And like I enjoyed being here, learning about God and developing a better relationship with Him, and being able to teach everybody else and seeing everybody else's life change. And slowly over time, things in my life kept coming back to, started coming back together, and it started getting better. It was a little bit for my mom to drop the restraining order. She did come over here one time, and she's like, I didn't drop it yet. I said, Mom, you really can't be here if you don't drop it. Like, if I live here and you come here, I go to jail. I don't know how that works, but that's how it happens. Like, it's just, I get the short end of the stick. So she eventually did drop it. I didn't find out till later that my sister got in that car accident that day. She didn't care about her car. She just wanted to make sure her brother was okay. And that's forever going to sit in my heart in a different way, because I don't know. With her, my sister and I had a really hard relationship for a while. And I forgot to also mention that last overdose at the hospital, when I came back to, they call your emergency contacts when you die. So my mom and my sister were on my emergency contact. My mom wasn't talking to me at the time. And so my sister started texting me because she obviously just almost lost her brother. And evidently that scared her. And it scared me too. But anyway, started getting a better relationship with my parents over time. The restraining order was dropped. All I did was just, I cleaned the bathrooms like they wanted me to. I did everything that they wanted me to here to the best effort that I could. I took it seriously. I wasn't like, why do we got to go clean the prayer room for 3.5 hours? Like, I took that time with God to just clean the prayer room for 3.5 hours and talk to Him. Like, I did anything and everything they asked me to do, because like I was so tired of living the hell of the life that I had before. I wanted something different. And I will have to say it's easy being here compared to being out there. It's life's hard. Like, it's not easy. You need to make a conscious choice every day to go and open up your Bible, to go to church, to go talk with God. You need to make that conscious choice every day, because in here, it's not to say forced on you, but it's in your repetition. You guys need to take that when you guys leave here, and you guys need to keep going with that. Bill and I, when I came home, I told him, I'm skipping over stuff. I told him, I said, we need to stay in the schedule of going to church Wednesdays and Sundays. It has gotten messed up in the last couple months because of work, but we're, in January, that's where we're gonna get things back in order. But stayed here for like 4.5 years. And I just wanted to give back what was freely given to me. And I wanted to help other people how I was helped, because helping you guys also helps the staff members. Like they like to give back. They like to help you guys. They like to help you guys write those little love letters to Jesus too. So, but I stayed here for a while. I worked. I've always worked a lot. It's hard to outwork me for the most part, especially with mechanic stuff. So after 4 o'clock, I'd go work in my friend's garage, and then I come back like sometimes like 9:45, sometimes 10:15, and then weekends I'd work the entire weekend, and eventually it came to the point where I had even worked with Lenny too. I'm sure you guys have met Lenny, and worked with him for a while doing the forklift stuff, and it came to a point where Taylor was like, "Listen, dude, you're doing 40 hours here and 40 hours out there," and I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "You're gonna burn yourself out." I'm like, "No." He said, "You're gonna burn yourself out." I'm like, "No, I'm not. I'm gonna be fine." And but he pulled my hours back, and he said, "You can't. No, we're gonna have to pull your hours back," and that really, really upset me. But this is where I want you guys to follow this very, very well. I left before my commitment was up, and but I knew that when I left that not to say I couldn't let you guys down in any way, but I couldn't go back to the life that I was living for sure. I had to make the best of this, and I had to continue doing what I was doing in here out there. And that's what I did. And I hit the ground running, and I stayed. I live with my sister now. I have an amazing relationship with her, even to the point now where she's like, in tears half the time. She's like, I need therapy if you ever left. And it's really nice to have that relationship, especially because we didn't really have the best relationship over time. And so sometimes bad things in your life, sometimes end up bringing people closer. And but I really hit the ground running, and I still have. And the drive that I used to use for drugs is the drive that I use for this now. And and for bettering my life, and it has bettered my life. I mean, I was so upset when when I lost the Mustang, and there was I think it was right before the banquet or something. I'm like, hey Taylor, there's this Audi on Marketplace. Do you care if I go buy it? And I think it was you I was talking to about that. I was like, oh, it's got the 4.2 liter V8. I didn't know anything about them at the time, and that's the car I drove today. And I went and bought it. And I pulled the motor out of it, did the timing chain, a bunch of other work and stuff to it. And I'm probably speaking gibberish to some people, but did a bunch of work to it. And like now I have not all of them are on the road, but now there's like 3 or 4 Audis and Mercedes. There's a Honda. There's like all sorts of stuff. But like, because I really feel like God has just blessed me with everything that the enemy was going to take away. That he did take away. He blessed me with things back like tenfold, and stuff that I never thought I'd have ever in my life. Like I was so upset about losing a Mustang. I didn't think I'd ever buy an Audi, and I'm happy about that. But I had to put God first, and I had to keep making that choice, and I had to change the life. There was a 2 wells illustration that I would do as a teaching. Maybe I'll make it by one day to show you guys that. But the idea behind the 2 wells illustration is that the farmer would come outside for 10 years and make a left out of his farm, out of his door, go down, pull from the well, water his plants. But his family was dying. So there was another well. It was about 3 times as far. He had to go over a rocky ridge, and it took 3 times the amount of time to get there. And it was a lot to carry all that water that distance. So what I'm referencing to with that is living our new lives is not going to be an easy choice until it becomes repetition over time. I'll admit I need to do better, and I need to keep conscious effort these things every day. I work in a garage, so perverse words are really easy to come out of your mouth because that's kind of what's there. I'm not using that as an excuse. It's something I can work on, and that's something I need to work on harder. That's what I mean by when you guys leave here, you guys have to stay on top of things. It's not like what you guys learn in here is going to stay constantly out there. You guys need to stay on top of it, and you guys need to make it's like loving somebody. You guys need to wake up every day and choose Jesus every single day, even when the days are hard. And things are going to be rough, and they're going to get hard. There's possible days that you might want to give up, but I encourage you not to, because there's a lot of how your life can change, and there's a lot how my life has changed. And I went from looking like that, being dead, wanting to die, to literally God saying that day, like, no, you're not going to. You're going to go to jail for a little bit, and then life's going to be better. But I had no idea it's going to turn into the life that it turned into now. And we've like 5 minutes left. I don't know if anybody had any questions or anything. So, anybody have any? Yeah, Julia.
But one thing I remember you saying that how you went to your sister's house for weekends, and how it was like you're not allowed any Walmarts anymore, but she had like this stack of cash on the table, and you're like,
oh yeah, I was like, I forget what she sold or bought that day. It was like $20,000 in cash or $10,000 in cash or something. It was just sitting on the counter, a big pile of it, and like. I'm glad you remember that. She just people just, she trusts me now. And it's amazing to have that relationship, that trust.
Yeah, I just remember that it's just a change in the heart and what the Lord can do.
Yeah.
Taking
Bless you.
TVs out of Walmart to your family member, leaving out sacks of cash.
Yep. And it's nice to be the person, like over time when you guys, the more you guys do here, the more your family will end up turning to you and being like, hey, we need advice for something. And it's crazy when that goes and happens. They're the ones giving you advice for so long in your life that you go and change your life enough that they're going to end up being the ones that turn to you for advice. And it's crazy when that happens, but it's amazing the same way. But I want you guys to take the time that you guys have here and really make the best of it, because I wish some days I could come back here. It's peaceful. It really, really is peaceful. You guys have all the time devoted just to this, and I'll put a lot of emphasis on this. It's really, really, really hard out there to make sure you have the time, because I feel like everything is just set up so much to keep you so busy, to keep you running around everywhere, to not have enough time to sit down and get involved in this. And you need to chop out a block of time for it. Just like you would with working out or anything else. You guys need to chop out a block of time to read your Bible and spend time. And it's hard, but I know you guys can do it. I know we all will. So, but that's pretty much all I got. I think I did pretty good for not speaking too fast and making it last 55 minutes. But yeah, thank you.